It's getting chilly outside and ever so closer to New Year's. The time for celebrations and festivities, but also the time for signing a new gas deal between Russia and Ukraine. And fears are spreading that Kiev might not have the money. And those fears are reaching Europe, that's dependent on Ukraine to transit the gas.
Not quite truth or dare. In his annual Q&A session, the Russian Prime Minister wasn't given a choice. And some of the questions were rather daring. Like the one about former oil tycoon Mikhail Khodorkovsky, who is currently serving an 8-year term in prison for fraud and tax evasion.
Well, of course, this address comes at a very important time for Russia as the electoral period is approaching. Parliamentary elections will take place in December 2011, and this is when all the amendments that have been introduced this year will be taken to the test. The year 2010 will go down in history as the year of a radical change in the relations between the two countries, also as the year of signing a new strategic arms reduction treaty. This is the biggest treaty of its kind signed in the past 20 years, when two of the world's biggest nuclear powers will be significantly reducing the number of warheads, strategic nuclear arms by a third, and delivery vehicles by almost a half. It has been Russia's concern for a very long time now. Russia doesn't want an arms race, and if NATO is to place its anti-missile defense shield in Europe, an anti-missile defense shield that's going to be covering a big part of Russia's territory, then of course an arms race is exactly what's going to happen. Right now you can see behind me Russian Marines military orchestra is getting ready for their performance. It's a loud and bright show here on Red Square tonight. Military bands from over 14 countries performing alongside each other on Red Square in front of 7,000 people who've gathered here for this spectacular event. At some point in the space race, the Soviet Union also built a reusable spacecraft similar to the shuttle. Buran completed only one space flight and proved to be ineffective almost 2 decades ago. Right now, one of them is resting in this theme park in central Moscow. And with shuttle's retirement too, flights to the ISS will be fully dependent on Soyuz. Natalia Novikova, RT, Moscow.
But 5 months of investigations did not clear that up last time.
While the prosecutor's office looks for new evidence in the Anna Politkovskaya murder case, her family members who did not appeal for a new trial will be facing more time in court. And if no new verdict is reached, this may not even be for the last time. Natalia Novikova, RT, Moscow. British petroleum executives have linked themselves this search to a failed deal between their company and Russia's oil giant Rosneft. This is the first visit of a Russian president to Vatican City after Russia and Vatican established diplomatic relations back in 2009. President Dmitry Medvedev and Pope Benedict XVI touched upon a number of global issues. About 800 students used to study at the local school number 6. Construction workers expect to have the windows repaired in time for the new school year. However, education officials believe there are likely to be many empty desks on the first day of school. According to the recent polls, President Kaczynski was losing supporters among Polish people. But right now here, the last thing people care about is the politics. In this crowd, there's no division between people who voted for President Kaczynski or not. They're all unified here to pay their last respects. Natalia Novikova, RT, Warsaw, Poland. Well, right now where I'm standing outside the presidential palace, there are thousands of people who came here to lay flowers and light candles. Getting here to the center of Warsaw was actually quite difficult because of that. Thousands of people are here, and it looks like the mourning has already begun. And from what I heard from the people that I've spoken to, they described this plane crash as a catastrophe, as a national disaster. But to talk more about that, I'm now joined by Mr. Hrdanovic, the editor-in-chief of the Report 2 military magazine. Thank you very much for joining us. Can you please tell us what was your immediate reaction when you heard about this plane crash?
$40 billion of debt can be good news if you are a growing mortgage market. That's the total amount of outstanding debt in the decade-old Russian home loans market.
Last year, 14% of homes in Russia were bought using a mortgage. This year, the figure is expected to increase by 50%. However, analysts say that mortgages are still not available to Russia's middle class. Here in Japan, coming back home from work, people don't have to worry about unemployment or the mortgage crisis. And looking at the examples of other countries, for them, it's a strong indication that their government knows how to deal with the biggest global recession in years. Natalia Novikova, RT, Tokyo. The similar difficulties that European leaders were facing while creating the EU, but the three leaders today have said that we shall see a single economic zone between Russia, Kazakhstan and Belarus by as early as the 1st of January 2012. Russian veteran cosmonaut Fyodor Yurchikhin has now safely returned to the government center for training cosmonauts. But for now, North Korea says it's not going to participate in the six-party talks and will resume its nuclear program. And if there's any pressure from the international community, the country says it's ready to give a military response.